2 CO2 glucose. Anesthetic is permeable. Amphoteric. Amphoteric means can act as an acid or base. Only optically inactive amino acid. That's glycine. Sporangia. Sporangia are sporangium, a receptacle in which asexual spores are formed, made by fungi, angiosperms, gymnosperms, and ferns. What are sori? Sori are clusters of sporangium. Beta and alpha glycosidic linkages. Well, alpha are on the same side, both up or both down, and beta are opposite sides. Great. Nerve gases. What do they do? Nerve gases inhibitors of acetylcholine esterase and cause death by respiration or respiratory paralysis. Blood pressure equation. So your BP, or your blood pressure, will be equal to your cardiac output divided by the radius of a blood vessel to the fourth power. The blood pressure will also be equal to the cardiac output times the peripheral vascular resistance. Acetylcholine esterase. What does it do? Acetylcholine esterase breaks down acetylcholine in postsynaptic motor and sensory neurons to terminate a signal transmission. Climax community. Climax community. The steady state of a community of plants, animals, and fungi. The pulse chase experiment. The pulse chase experiment, tracking proteins in a cell using radio labeling. Larynx, pharynx. Sorry, the larynx first is the voice box. The pharynx is the back of the throat. The bacteriophage is what? Bacteriophage is the virus that attacks bacteria. And then the last one, interferon. And interferon is going to be a protein released by animal cells, usually in response to the entry of a virus that inhibits virus replication. Carboxypeptidase. Carboxypeptidase is a protease enzyme that hydrolyzes a peptide bond at the carboxy terminal, C-terminal end of a protein. Aminopeptidase. Aminopeptidase, same as carboxypeptidase, but on the N-terminal. Peptide sequences written N-terminus to C-terminus. Amino acids added to the carbonyl end. What directs what? Western blot, southern blot, northern blot, fluorescence, correlation, spectroscopy. Let's see. Well, if you have a western blot, it directs proteins. Or detects proteins, sorry. It detects proteins. How about a southern blot? That will detect DNA sequences. And you got your northern blot. What does that detect? That detects RNA. Then you got the fluorescence, correlation, spectroscopy. Fluorescence, correlation, spectroscopy. Cell-to-cell communication. Phosphate buffer is going to be H2PO4 minus and HPO4 minus. So minus 2 Okay. Buffer inside cells. So that's inside cells with your phosphate buffer. Your bicarbonate buffer, however, is a buffer outside of cells. So that would be outside of cells in the body. Bicarbonate buffer is the HCO3 minus and H2CO3. Let's discuss the correct inspired air sequence. Okay, you got your nasal cavity to trachea to bronchus to bronchiole to alveoli. Bronchi to, I think, to bronchioles. Okay. Bronchi comes before bronchioles. Then alveoli. Passive versus active immunity. Passive immunity from introduction of antibodies from another person or animal. Active immunity, on the other hand, should be the production of antibodies in response to a foreign antigen. Myeloma cells. Myeloma cells are malignant cancer. And then monoclonal antibodies. Monoclonal antibodies are produced by cancerous B cells, often attacks kidneys. Monoclonal cells produced by monoclonal antibodies are produced by cancerous B cells, often attacks kidneys. Percent of cell that mitosis takes. What percent of the cell cycle that it takes up is 10%. Cell cycle is mitosis. Okay, the endometrium is what? Endometrium is the mucous membrane lining of the uterus. Okay, the monoecious or hermaphroditic means monoecious organisms with both male and female sex organs. Dioecious is going to be a male and female reproductive organs are separate in separate individuals. So that would be us. Sponges can be hermaphroditic. Okay. Bacteria in large intestine produce this. Vitamin K. The portal vein is what? Portal vein delivers glucose and other sugars to the liver. Capacitation. Capacitation. Function maturation of spermatozoa in female oviduct in uterus. Changes like intracellular ion concentrations, motility, and metabolism occur. Androecious, only having male sex organs. Agnostic behavior, agonistic behavior. Agonistic behavior is any social behavior related to fighting, treats, displays, retreats, placation, and consolation. Okay, Casparian strip. Casparian strip is a waxy band in plants that aid in water control, blocks passive flow of water and solutes into stele of a plant. Stele? I guess. This one's fun. How about the first law of thermodynamics? What is that? It says that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It only changes forms. Second law of thermodynamics says this. The entropy randomness of the universe is always increasing. The third law of thermodynamics says this. At absolute zero, a system must be in a state of minimum possible energy. Zeroth's law. Zeroth's law says that if A and B are in the thermal equilibrium with C, then A and B are also in thermal equilibrium. Neat. That's Zeroth's law. Keratin is what? Fibrous protein found in mammals, reptiles, birds, and amphibians. Part of claws, horns, hooves, and nails. Makes epidermis waterproof. Pseudopodia. Pseudopodia, peninsula-like protrusions from an amoeba, involved in movement. Surfactant. Surfactant is substance that reduces surface tension of a liquid that it's dissolved in alveoli of lungs, helps first breaths of newborns. Intercalated discs. Intercalated discs is an identifying feature of cardiac muscle in between heart muscle cells. Transfer tubule, T-tubule. Transfer tubule, T-tubule is an invagination of skeletal or cardiac muscle cells that allow quick depolarization. Plasmodesmata. Plasmodesmata are microscopic channels which transverse the cell walls of plant cells, allows transpiration and communication. Plasmodesmata. Nice. How about mesenchyme? Mesenchyme are embryonic tissue that develops into connective and skeletal tissues, including blood and lymph. The Cori cycle instead will be process by which lactic acid is converted back into glucose in the liver. Then we have the glyoxylate cycle, which says that it occurs in plants, bacteria, protists, and fungi. Conversion of acetyl-CoA to succinate for synthesis of carbohydrates. Dynein, protein associated with a flagellum or moving chromosomes. Okay, flagella and cilia are made from what? Flagellum and cilia are made from microtubules. Epidermis layering. Here are all the layers, A to E. So the first layer is going to be the corneum, then the lucidum, then the granulosum, then the spinosum, and then the basal or germinativum layer. So there you go. Next, we have the tetanus. Tetanus is what? Sustained, forceful muscle contraction, which lacks even partial relaxation, bacterial infection. Tonus. Condition of skeletal muscle in which a sustained site contraction is maintained. Summation. Summation when stimuli are given to a muscle at short intervals so that the muscle doesn't have time to relax between stimuli. And then the volvox is going to be what? Plant-like protist, freshwater, spiny, green colonies in ponds. The mandible is going to be jawbone, strongest bone of the face, the foramen magnum, hole in the base of the skull through which the spinal cord passes. you're done with biology.